Hello everybody, how's it going? Christian from Treasure Town here, and today we've got a bunch of silver in front of us as well as a bunch of gold over here. We're going to be talking about the gold-silver ratio. Now this is just going to be my personal thoughts. I'm often a little bit cautious. I see a lot of people talking about the gold-silver ratio. I kind of want to discuss it, think about how it has evolved historically, where we're at right now. Does that give us signals as to what of these precious metals we should be buying? And remember, this is my own opinion. This is basically not an investment advice. It's just entertainment. But I actually have some different opinions than most people, so stick around for my thoughts. All right, so let's get into the video. I don't think that this one is going to be too long of a video, but as you can see, we've got a bunch of silver, and then we also have this 100-gram gold bar. You know, this is not mine. Thank you to the Happy Coin for a lot of this silver and gold. It's a coin shop in Connecticut, and when they said that they got these bars in and, you know, had some of the silver laying around, I was like, all right, we got to do a video on it. So that's exactly what we're doing. And the thing is, when we put these down, it looks like I have a bunch more silver than I do gold. By the weight, that's definitely correct. But believe it or not, the silver on this side is worth about half of what this gold ounce is at today's prices. And that sounds really shocking, but it just shows you the magnitude. You know, this is a 100 gram. It's a little bit over 3 ounces of gold, but it's pretty small, especially when you compare it to this laying right next to it, this 25-ounce silver bullet, which is absolutely huge. You have a kilo of silver right there. That's like, you know, maybe, I don't know, that's just a lot of ounces. I want to say something like low 30s in terms of the number of ounces. Now this is rolling around this bullet here, so we'll see if we can get that. But the thing about the gold-silver ratio is that a lot of people kind of look at it and try to make their price predictions off of it, and I think that it's often just a way for people to drum up hype around one or the other metal, because if you look back, I have a little bit of other coinage here. But what I was going to say about this sort of thing is that this is what the gold-silver ratio used to look like, and forget about everything from that onwards. So here we have $10 face of silver coinage. Most of it's from 1892 and 1893, these Colombian half dollars. And you could have spent these, you know, these are very well worn, some of them, for 50 cents in the United States. That's what they were used for. Likewise, you have this gold coin, 1847-0, which is a $10 gold coin. And that's what it was used for. You could spend it. $10, obviously worth a lot more than that now. Both of these are, but this, you know, this would have been equivalent for this. And then when we move, you know, to what we're dealing with now, the small gold thing is probably worth double, again, what is the silver in that photo. So the thing to think about is obviously gold has appreciated a lot more relative to silver. There's a lot of people who then come in and say, you know, especially on YouTube, people are like, you know, it's time to pour into silver because soon, you know, we're going to be back to a situation where this much silver is worth this much gold. And that really hasn't been the case and has not been true for an extremely long amount of time. And I think that there's no, you know, there's obviously some link. So if gold goes up 100 times tomorrow, I think that silver will also appreciate quite nicely. But I don't think that it's the case where you can consider the gold-silver ratio the indicator of what you're going to do. Obviously, there can be times where it's relatively more expensive. The gold-silver ratio spiked a ton. I think it was over 100 for a good amount of time recently. Now it's back. It's currently at like 68 as of the time I'm making this video. So there's a little bit of truth to it, but you could have also been buying when the gold-silver ratio was like 40 or something, and or 30 or 40, and then you get blown out because you thought it was going to creep down to historical kind of 1 to 20 in the United States going into ancient times. Sometimes it was like 1 to 10, 1 to 12. Interesting kind of side note, what would happen is different regions in the world, I'm talking about like, you know, around Jesus' time, different regions in the world would value silver and gold differently. So what would happen is the traders would bring all the gold out of certain areas. You know, they'd take this, they'd go to, you know, they'd travel a long amount of time, trade it for some silver, and then go back to the original country and then trade the silver and for, you know, the same gold coin, and then maybe have like 1 or 2 of them left over. Obviously, how they would do it was a little bit different, but I mean, that might have held true historically. Now with the internet, it's a very clear, you know, it's not like there's big regional differences. And I think that the gold silver ratio is not something to pay attention a ton to, because, you know, silver is a very industrial metal. I think that's like 50% of its demand at least. It's used in a lot of actual producing things. I think gold's demand is like 10% that. It's more seen as the like original store of value, and an inflationary hedge. Silver does not really have the same connotations. It can be used by people maybe. I think the other thing, just bear in mind, on YouTube, people talk about silver a lot, myself included, but silver appeals to a much larger audience in terms of stackers because it's a lot easier to spend. You know, to get a coin like this, you're going to have to spend minimum $1,000. A really small gold coin where you're not getting ripped off on premium is still probably going to be $300 or $400. So you have like one of those. It's a lot more fun to have a stack of silver coins, bars, rounds, whatever you want to call it. So it's a way, you know, it can be often a way to hype up the silver price, saying that it's so overpriced. I really think that that's not the way to approach it. I think that I'm going to go back to our kind of main scene here. I don't think that the historical gold-silver ratio is the way to operate in today's day and age. Other people might disagree with me, and I'd like to hear your thoughts as to why, but I think that it's really important, and I should do a pretty detailed video discussing the utility of gold and the utility of silver. Why are they trading the way it does? It's the same thing. I'm going to have to make a video on this in a separate one, just talking about, you know, people on YouTube need to be a little bit more careful with how they discuss silver and gold, and the emphasis of like physical silver squeezes on the actual silver price. I think the amount of silver being bought need to be so massive. When you have banks, they can throw around hundreds of, not really throw around. There has to be some investment thesis, but there's trading volumes that are just astronomical and way bigger than a small community of YouTubers. If every one of them bought 100 ounces, maybe the silver websites are going to get sold out and the premiums go up. But does that actually have an impact on what silver price is as it's melting? I remember with the Wall Street silver or whatever, I forget, there was some silver squeezes there. It rose like $1.50 or $2 for a few minutes, and then, there's nothing to show for it. So I'm not really an expert on if there's any manipulation. Personally, I don't think that there's a huge amount of it. Obviously, a lot of people in the silver community disagree. I don't really know. I feel like I'm not qualified to speak on that. I haven't had any tangible evidence dealing with it. But gold-silver ratio, I think it's something that can be fun to track or know where it's at. But I don't think it's something that I would invest hugely into. Maybe this will be worth a fraction of all of this when the silver, if the silver price actually corrected, and maybe this will become 10 times more valuable. It really depends, and again, the use cases are so much different for this stuff. So I think that pick a little bit of both. That's how I would play it, and figure out what your ratio is in terms of value, and then collect accordingly and stack accordingly. So anyways, that's my thoughts for today. A little bit of a shorter video, but thank you for listening in, and thanks to Happy Coin for providing the gold that was used in today's discussion. Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to like, comment, and definitely subscribe to the channel and connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I also have a website, treasuretownYT.com, where you should go so that you can learn more about coins as well as what's happening on the channel and possibly find a place to sell your coins and collectibles. I also want to talk about some of my other projects like coinmeltprice.com, which shows precious metals prices as well as the melt values of coins containing those precious metals, both US and world. I also have coinsmetalscards.com, which will develop into a full marketplace, as well as a news source for coins, metals, cards, as the name might suggest. And then treasuretowncoins.com, which long-term will be my coin dealing entity, separate from the channel. And lastly, whatsthegrade.com, which will be a stickering service for already certified collectibles, where you can get a approval or verification of the grade on the holder. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you on some of my other videos.